Welcome to Can It Mario, the show where we review third-party controllers, and at the end, see how well they work for Mario. Did you know an anagram for toenail is elation? Think about that for a minute. It kind of looks like a mix of an Xbox One controller and a 360 controller. I found the analog sticks to be not stiff at all. I like a stiffer analog stick. It made it feel a bit cheaper, but it should still be okay. There are no dead zone problems. It's got a weird rubber on the caps, and it does a great job of stopping your thumb from slipping. It might take some time to get used to, but it's good. The analog sticks are a little raised, which makes a lot of games a bit harder, but I'm sure you could get used to it. Some might even prefer it. I've heard complaints about the rubber cap coming off. I believe them. You could always glue it back on, I suppose, but just be aware of it. As you snap back the analog stick, it'll often do an input you don't want. It's not a big deal at all, but I figured it'd be important to tell you. I got cramps with my ring fingers, which is odd, considering how close it is to the Xbox One and 360 controller. I think a little bit of extra bulk on the grips would have helped immensely. Feels like they were going for a middle of the ground, different hand sizes. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal or anything, because it was very infrequent. It also breathes very well. The build quality is very good. The plastic's hard as a rock. It won't budge. It's lightweight, but to me, doesn't feel cheap. It's wired, which some might want and some won't. The switch is always a little laggy anyway. Said cable is 10 feet long, which is good. It also doesn't have rumble, gyro controls, or an NFC reader, which you might want. It also can't be used in portable mode, unless you have both an adapter and the right stand. I mean, it's a budget controller after all. A breakaway cable would have been nice. I pulled the switch across the floor a couple of times. So be very careful, and make sure to unplug it when it's not in use. One feature it does have is turbo. You can set it to any input other than the analog sticks or the menu buttons. After it's set up, you can easily activate it with set input, or have it always on. It's compatible with PC and Mac too. The D-pad is removable, revealing 4 buttons. There's a spot on the back to put the D-pad when it's not in use. I like that. That's very thoughtful. Now for the bad news. Although it's good on paper, this is one of the worst D-pads I have ever used. It's often a chore. I can't get it to do what I want. Playing Street Fighter, or a shooter for example, is a nightmare. It would constantly input the wrong directions. It's very imprecise and mushy, and using the 4 buttons is not great either. They are very tall to be compatible with the D-pad, and also recessed into the controller. Your thumb ends up resting on the rim, which I don't like. The D-pad was stiff at first, but loosened up over time. This made the problem even worse. If you need a good D-pad, this is a very poor choice. Many games are fairly playable with the buttons, but it's not good enough. It's a shame, because the rest of the controller is decent. They really should have gone with a normal D-pad. Just because the Joy-Cons have different direction buttons, doesn't mean this one had to. The Pro Controller and others have a D-pad. You don't have motion controls, so there are many actions in Mario Odyssey that you won't be able to do, before and capturing. That being said, when I didn't need those moves, it was a fairly good experience. The raised sticks made it a little harder though. Mario 8 Deluxe was great, no surprises. Zelda will require you use the Joy-Cons or Pro Controller for shrine puzzles. If you like the idea of gyro aiming, it'll be an issue too. Other than that, it was very good. I wanted to try Stern Pinball to test out the triggers and bumpers. They're very good. The bumpers are a little stiff, but nice. I found them difficult to mash though. Some have had issues with the triggers having too much travel for fighting games. I didn't have any issues though. Although I noted a lot of problems, I really like this controller. I will continue to defend it. Hori is known for making good products, and this is one of them. You're probably going to want a controller anyway, considering how lousy the Joy-Con grips are. There are many little problems. Still, this is the best very cheap controller for 3D games, because it has no noticeable dead zones. It's around 20 bucks online at the making of this video, and at that price, it's a steal. I recommend you buy one for yourself or as a second player controller, as long as you can deal with the hot garbage that is the D-pad. They were so close too. All that being said, I would save up for the Pro controller if you can. But can it, Mario? The D-pad was acceptable, but not perfect. Quick left and right movements were hard. You will make mistakes trying to go up and down pipes or climbing vines too. Using the buttons without the cap is not a big problem either. If you liked this video, you should like one of these. I would know. I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, where I banged your mom, and it was kinky. I have nothing else to say.